Hey guys, look at all you early birds. Definitely feels like a Saturday, huh? Welcome. I'm Saramy. It's like Jeremy with an S. You guys look ready. I'm so excited. Why isn't my my camera's not showing up on the... Uh-oh. How come I didn't notice that? Let's see. Whew. Now I need to configure it. Sorry. I was unplugging things, and that's so funny because I was like, wow, that camera, I didn't lose that camera after all. But I definitely lost this camera. Oh, actually, I think I need to leave it like that. How are you guys? We're going to zoom way in. Wait, let's do like right. Let's try that. That's not too bad. What do you think? All right, so I'm just checking out the cameras and stuff. So far we have taken really specific measurements. We did that on Wednesday, and you can download that from my website. Let me pull up the website. I think it's nice when we can put the link in the... Wait, is that my website? No. So.live. There we go. We can put the link right into the chat. So let's see here. Where is it? Here we go. All right, so put it here. And we'll put it in Twitch since I'm just toggling between chats these days. So I never figured out that issue. All right, so first of all, we took our measurements on Wednesday. And so if you go to that link, it is the project on my website. I put all the things we do on here on the website. So all the videos are linked all in one little tidy spot because YouTube's such a pain to navigate. And you can find, if you read down that description of the basic bodice draft, there is a My Measurements link. I updated it to be a little easier and to correct those two things where I had you write down the full measurement for measurement 2, but you really only need to write down half. But that's okay. If you watch the videos, that gets sorted. You're not like, it's not disastrous if you don't re-download this. And then I changed number 18 to be number 11 because they are the exact same measurement. So I just tried to simplify it. The more I look at it, I can keep refining it. And like I said, I'm just kind of like, never done this before. So we took our measurements, and that was like on these forms here. And then Thursday, we drafted the front. Turned out great. So this was my first one. And these little red lines here are what I did after putting it on the dress form. I know you guys don't have a dress form most likely, like a couple of you do. Maybe some of you have custom ones, which is awesome. And you probably haven't gotten to this point yet, but I just could show you guys exactly, how it fit. And it fit great once I made these little bit of alterations. So, I had like the gapping in the armhole, and we fixed that. So anyway, we're on to the back now, and we'll do the same thing. We'll cut it in fabric and put it on the dress form and check it out. And then in December, like once you've had like a month to sit here and draft these, cut it out, sew it in fabric, and then try it on. Maybe try and address some of the fit issues that you see or adjust anything. In December, we'll go over it. So you have like a month, more or less, to kind of like get on track. Because I really want you guys to be successful with this, and I want you to have some time. And I know like right now, this time of year, our time is like tight with the holidays and, school functions for kids and all that stuff. So anywho, make sure I'm up to date. Last chat I see is Brown Sugar's comment to Malin, right? Right. Okay. So, a couple of the things I wanted to mention. If you're a Patreon subscriber, and that's linked in the description of this video and all of my videos, you can get the text version of what we did on Thursday when we drafted the front, and today. And so that way you have this like nice little list of steps that I'm going to do for you. You don't have to, but you can get this text version, and it supports me a little bit for doing this and other things that we're going to do. And I'm going to start really trying to add more and more to the Patreon area. So I'm just getting used to it. So if you had already downloaded this, and I updated it yesterday, I put a new link to it. The only changes I made were to kind of simplify it and make it a little easier to use, because I put like blanks for you to add your measurements in, and I added the back. So you just need to download or print out the last 4 pages if you had already printed it out and you don't want to go through that again. That's totally fine. All right, so let's get to it. I have my front here handy that we did on Thursday. Look how tiny it is. So I just want to be clear that I am drafting this for this dress form just for ease of explanation, so I can pin on something, because doing it on myself is really hard to be accurate. But she's like a 16-year-old girl, all right? So this was a dress form given to me. I am not advocating that. I'm not trying to say, you know, I just don't want people to think, well, that's so easy, she's so small. I'm sorry, it's just my resource that I have here. I do plan on making my block by December and showing you how it looks on me, right? Because I don't look like that. Funnily, I had to like alter my daughter's dress for a dance tonight on Thursday. And you know, I don't know about any of you, if you have to sew for a teenager, you're like, you know, like that'll induce panic. And I thought, I'm just going to see if her dress will fit on here. And it fit perfect. I was like, yeah, this makes sense. My daughter's taller than me and that size. So those days are long past for me. So anyway, it is a nice, useful tool because we can mimic some fit issues on here as well and show how to correct them. All right, so you guys here, you're all ready? The lighting looks good. Maybe I can sharpen this up a little bit. I like to sharpen this camera. How's that look? Ooh, that got sharper. All right, so if you did your draft of your front and you did happen to try it on like a dress form, because trying it on yourself is really hard right now because you only have half. I'm just trying to say, if you've made any adjustments to your front draft that altered some of the measurements that you took with your front, I want you to update the measurements for your back, because we do refer to some of those same measurements. All right, that's all I want to say. It's just, you know, it'll become apparent. And if you don't do it, it's not a big deal, because when we true the back bodice to the front bodice and true them up to be usable patterns, those things will get corrected. So it's just nice to have the least amount of marks and the least amount of corrections going forward. All right, we're digging in. Let's do this. I don't usually draft patterns in Sharpie, but it's a little more visible for you guys. So you guys are still here, right? I didn't lose the chat. Tell me you're here. I only see Brown Sugar's last comment. So I just want to make sure you guys are here and everything's good. Say hi. Let me know. I have been getting some interesting comments on some of my videos lately, you guys. Great. Thank you, Malin. Perfect. Let's do it. All right. So we're going to start with our measurement 13. So like what I did was I took all my measurements that I took for the back, and then I transferred them to this little sheet that I'm using. So you're going to need measurement number 13. I'm also going to use this ruler that's all marked up because I used my Sharpie right up against it. And you're going to draw a line on your pattern. And just so you know, we're orienting the back like this. So this will be the top of the back neck, the waist, the shoulder. All right. So that when we put it to the front, you have, you know, a whole right side of your body. Hi, Rachel. Hi, Maribel. All right, Christine. Thanks, you guys. Thanks, Brown Sugar. I need reassurance. All right, so we're going to just draw a straight line on your pattern. I actually feel like I could have it sharper Sharpie because I really want it to be accurate, and it is kind of hard when you don't have a sharp Sharpie. All right, so going to, everything's showing up there, right? I feel like I could zoom in a little further. What do you guys think? I'm gonna try and zoom in a little further, just so I make sure that when I draw my letters, it's really easy for you guys to see. I think that'll work. All right. I'll try and watch the camera just to make sure. So I need to zoom out. Okay, so you got your line here, and you're going to label the bottom here B. That's your waist, because remember, we're doing the right side of the body, and this is your right back. And then from B to A, you're going to measure 16 3/8, or not 16 3/8. You're going to use your measurement number 13. I'll try not to use my measurements so that you don't get confused. And you're going to mark this as A. All right. Now you're going to need measurement number 2, and that was the across shoulder measurement, and you only need half of that because you only need from your shoulder to your center back. Okay, so mine is 7, and that is A to C. So you're going to square out. This is like probably the hardest square line we're going to get as far as making sure it's square, because we don't have any other reference points on here yet. So do your absolute best to try and get a nice perpendicular line to your AB. And like I said, this is the neck shoulder area up here. All right, and I'm gonna mark my measurement on there. And then I'm gonna mark this point as C. This is A. It's a little easier to see, right? All right, so I'm also gonna check these off. So if you're following along, you might find it easier if you do. Now you're gonna square down from C a 7-inch guideline, okay? And this one I can actually make sure it's square because I can kind of put a little guide over here that I know is then parallel to this one. Okay, you don't need to mark that point. It's just a guideline because that's what we'll use to build off of our armhole. All right. All right, so now we're going to find our center back length, which is from the waist up to the neckline. And you need measurement number 14 for that. You're going to measure from B up towards A, that measurement. Double check. Always good. Double check your measurements before you do something, just so you know that going forward, you're good. All right. You're going to square out a line 4 inches from D. I'm just going to do a parallel line to A. You don't need to mark that point. You just need that parallel line because this is going to be your neck eventually. All right, that's part 1, if you're following along. All right, so next is our waist arc. And we're going to use measurement number 17 plus 1.5 inches. Now, if you're a petite person, you might want to make that plus amount only 1 inch. I ended up doing a trial on this to refine my instructions, and I just mistakenly used the 1.5 inch, and she's certainly pretty petite, and it worked really good. So if you forget this or you miss it, I don't think it was that big of a deal. This time maybe I'll try the 1 inch, and that way I can see what difference it has. So make sure you take your measurement number 17, add either 1.5 inches for most sizing and 1 inch for petites to that, and write that down. So let's see, my 17. So what I also like to do, if you're following along on this text print version of the instructions, and you're writing in the number and the blank there, put a little check mark by the 1.5 or the 1 inch you added so that you know if you look back on this that you did it, so that it's kind of like a, you know, that little gift to your future self. Because I feel like sometimes if I have a little error and I'm going back and kind of checking my work, I might look at that and go, well, did I add the 1.5? Maybe I didn't. Maybe that's where it's at. But if at least I see that, I can go, yeah, I did. And I can also double check it by looking at my measurement and seeing if I wrote that amount in there. But what you could have done was write down your measurement 17 there and then added the 1 inch when you went here, and then you wouldn't have any record of that. So just try and record it, because once you get all these layers and steps down, just making it as obvious as possible to yourself is just so helpful. I need to hide my screen because I keep seeing my hands fly around. That must be annoying. Okay, all right, so like I said, you're going to now mark B to E, and B is going to go out this way for your waist, and you need your measurement number 17, and I'm going to add an inch. All right. And that inch or 1.5 inches that you're adding, that is the dart that we're going to add to the back, okay? I'm going to draw this line a little faint because I know it won't be my last waistline. This is going to be E. It's barely on there. Oh, she's a tiny thing. All right. That was number 1 on part 2. All right, now you're going to square down from E about 3/16 of an inch. Sorry for you Euro folks. Oh, you know, I forgot to put the millimeters on these pages. Sorry guys, I did it on the front, but I didn't do it on the back. So you're gonna square down from this point E that way, 3/16 of an inch, which is basically like a fat 1/8 of an inch, all right? This is pretty subtle because honestly, we are going to mess around with this little corner a little bit later on. And that's point F. Looked like a P, didn't it? That's F, all right? All right, so now we're going to place the dart here, and you're going to refer to your measurement 11 from the front and use that amount for your dart placement. You know, if you don't agree with any of these, this is not the last time you're going to be able to make any changes. Like, we're going to true this, try it on, all kinds of stuff, and you can do whatever you want. So this is just a really great way to get the points in almost all the right places in a balanced way, you know, so that the dart is balanced with the garment and it hangs right. Okay, so that was number 3 if you're following along on this. Number 4, am I going too fast for any of you? Tell me, I can kind of, you know, tell you a story or something. So just let me know if you need me to slow down, all right? There's a little bit of a delay with the chat, but that's okay. I'll keep looking just to make sure. I don't see anyone on Twitch, so we're good. Hi, Twitch, if you're there. All right. You can barely keep up. I'll slow down, Christine. Sorry. When no one's talking in chat, I feel like you're bored and I start speeding up, and that's my fault. Sorry about that. I should really be thinking that you're trying to do this. So if you need me to repeat anything, just tell me. All right? Okay. I'll wait to get the go ahead. I'm going to write here that this is the top as well, just to reiterate that. We're drawing can't type. Yes. Good point. Okay. Thankfully on the back, I feel like there's in some ways fewer steps on the back. But at the same time, there is one little spot that there's definitely gonna need, it's not covered in the text instructions. Can I repeat D? Yeah, so D is your measurement number 14 from B up to D, and this is the center back length. So basically this is your waist and this is your neck. This is your shoulder. A is your shoulder. And then you're going to square out a 4-inch line from there, parallel to AC. And then if you need any of the others, Deborah, pass that. Like for B to E is your waist measurement. You got it? Okay. Plus your dart intake. All right. Okay, so G to H. So now what we're going to be doing is kind of refining this dart area right here. So whatever that amount is, that 1 inch or that 1.5 inch you used for your dart intake, now you're going to draw it on here. So I did 1 inch, so I'm going to put a 1 inch mark right there. Oh, I forgot. This is G right here. This is H. So this is the beginning of my dart legs. All right. Now you're going to mark a point in between halfway. So if you did a 1.5 inch wide dart, you're going to put a point 3/4 of an inch away from G and H. If you did 1 inch, you're going to do a 1/2 inch. You're going to call this I. All right, so now, I'll try not to go fast, sorry. Partly it's because I have a project I'm trying to finish. I was trying to finish today because there's a deadline for it, because something has to happen to it for it to be done by Christmas as a gift for someone. And I'm not going to say what it is because that person could be watching. I called to find out. I was like, all right, so by what time today do you need these things so that it can be done by Christmas? And the gal was like, oh, well, she picks them up by like between like now and noon. I was like, oh, okay. Well, that means the deadline was really yesterday. So I stayed here late last night. And like the thing is, like, I've been really disciplined when I'm at work, where I do my work first and then I do personal stuff. Because it's really easy for me to be like, I'm just going to make myself a top. And then I just whip out a top, right? And then I'm like, wow, I got nothing done on my patterns or my other things, you know? So that kind of like background, like pressure to finish it is kind of in the background. But then when I called and they were like, well, I missed it. I'm like, all right, well, I can relax now. And then I came up with a backup plan. So everything's going to be okay. But that's what I was doing right before. So I do still feel that little like urgency, you know? So, and I have been getting a few more recommendations for our week long of gift sewing in December. I know it's a little late for gift sewing, but hey, we're gonna bust it out, right? And I got in the mail yesterday the pattern for the apron we'll be sewing from Hearts Fabric. It's a 1 yard bias cut apron. It's gonna be really cute. The fabric's really cute. So, all right, you guys caught up? Let's do this. All right, so now we're going to be doing our B to J. Yeah, we're going to start developing where our side seam is. So you're going to need measurement number 10. So from B up along the BA line, you're going to mark your measurement number 10. Mark this as J. And then we're going to square out from J that way. All right. So what you can do to make sure you're square is just make yourself a little dot up from that B to E line in the, you know, roughly the same spot, not roughly, in the exact same spot. And then draw your line. All right. And if you have the text version of these instructions, the K, but just FYI, the K on here is a little kind of like out in left field, but it gets tame in the next pages when you actually need it. All right, so now number 7, back arc. So using your measurement number 19, plus you're going to add 3/4 of an inch to your number 19 for some ease. You're going to draw your kind of your across back measurement here, J to K. So now make sure, for those of you using this text version, that you put a little check mark that you added that 3/4 of an inch, and don't forget to add the 3/4 of an inch to your measurement 19. All right, so you're going to square out from J, And you're going to mark that as K. And I obviously didn't go too far enough. So let's see. All right. All right. Now, you're going to measure from B to the middle of your dart, which is point I, all right? And then you're going to mark that point right here on the J to K line, because this is you're forming the top of your dart, and your dart needs to be lined up. So have you ever sewn a dart where the dart legs either weren't the same length, or it was really hard to fold the dart and sew it because it wanted to torque? That is a dart that hasn't been drafted properly, or when it got cut out a little wonky, like maybe the tip moved, you know, left or right at the top. And that's where this is coming in. So darts are really important that way, because you all know that when you've sewn a dart and you've had some issues with it, it makes you start questioning everything. And that is putting that little seed of doubt in your pattern from the beginning is so unsettling, because then you already feel like you're doing something wrong when it might not even be you, right? So you got to pay attention to these little things. It'll help a lot. All right, so this is your B to I measurement right here, and we're going to mark that as L, okay? Now you're going to square down from L toward your dart 3/4 of an inch. And this is M. How you guys doing? Am I telling enough stories to keep you caught up, you know? All right, I'm going to use my pencil for this next one so that I can kind of get some precise measurements. So what I'm going to do is, well, I'll use my Sharpie at first, but I'm going to draw my dart legs in from M to G. I'm just going to go a little past, and from M to H. You'll notice, like, I have to keep my ruler kind of far away from the point because the tip of my pen is so fat. So when you are taking into account for some of your measurements, make sure that you are allowing for the width of your pen or your marker in your measurements and things like that. Like back off your ruler a little bit if you need to, because that stuff, that adds up. I almost cussed right there and I didn't. I'm really proud of myself. Okay. All right. So you are going to draw, you're going to formulate these points of your G and your H. They are going to be 1/8 of an inch below this line. So I like to take my ruler, put it 1/8 of an inch below this B to E line, and that is your dart leg. And so what I recommend doing now is circling this point, because this is your new G to H right here. Okay. I'll raise this up to the camera. See that? So I went 1/8 of an inch past this line here on the dart leg. And that's my new G and my new H. Hi Lisa, how's it going? How have you been? What you been up to lately? What you been making? We're drafting blocks. All right. Let's straighten the paper so I don't trigger anybody or myself. Okay. All right, so that was number 9. And now you're going to draw in your waistline from B to G. Now, if you feel the need to make this a curved line, you can go for it. It's such a small distance on mine that doing a curve seems a little bit forced, you know? I gotta move my weight here. I can't do anything. But I'll put this in. We're gonna true this waistline. This is not gonna be, I guarantee it's not gonna be exactly where it lands. So you gotta true these things once you see it, see your dart sewn and see everything kind of, you want a nice smooth waistline. Oh, you got a new job? Congratulations. I've never heard of the cabin. Did I just say cabin? I was like, I don't know that word. I do know that word. Cabin tunic. That's awesome. Yeah, no worries. You can't make it gets uploaded, and just join us when you can. It's just how it is. But you're still sewing. Good for you. I'm glad you got your priorities. You can sew for yourself still. All right. So now if you're following along on this printout, I'm going to turn the page. We're on part 3. You're going to use your measurement number 15, which is your shoulder slope. Now, I want all of you to pay attention to this next section. Oh, I'm so glad, Lisa. They're going really good. I'm really excited myself, actually. And you have plenty of time to catch up because today is our last one. And then I'm going to let all of you draft them, cut, sew, fit, see what you think. And then in mid-December, we're all going to regroup and see what we think. So hopefully if you're down for it and you can make it by December, you'll be right there with us. So. Okay, so this next part, we're going to be using our front bodice. Now, for the few people that are doing this along with us but haven't done their front yet, it's okay. But if you have your front handy, you're going to want it for this next part. It does make it a little bit more accurate. Hi, Deb. It got cold here today. Awesome, Lisa. You're down for it. But it's still beautiful and sunny. Ah, California. It's beautiful here when it's not burning. Okay, so this isn't hard what I'm going to do. I just want you to follow along, all right? So there's a few ways we can do this. All right, so you need your measurement number 15. And you're going to be drawing in where your shoulder point is on the body in relation to your waist point. So that's why your it's going to be B to N right here, somewhere along here. So take your measurement number 15 and you're going to line it up from your center back waist right here on B, and then wherever that hits on that line is your point, all right? I'm looking down the middle of my ruler right now just so you're not confused. I find it to be a little easier because then I can just draw a line straight across like this. All right, and this is N. This point might shift a little. Hi, Chelsea. Happy Saturday. How's it going? All right, so then that is your shoulder slope. Let me check mine off. All right, so at this point, you're going to take your bodice draft. And remember, my center line is right here. I have this extra paper sitting there just as, just because, but I have a notch there. You're gonna line up the center on your center line of your back, and your shoulder point needs to touch somewhere on A, right? Yeah. All right, so I have my center line, which I will draw on here so you can see. All right, so I'm lining up my center back, my center front on my center back, finding my shoulder point, and I'm just going to put that there for reference, all right? And just leave it there, okay? If you don't have that, that's okay. What you're going to do if you don't have that is take your measurement for your back neck, which is number 16, and measure from A on the AC line that way and put that there. Put measurement 16 right here. Basically, this is like a cheater way to figure out where your shoulder point in relation to your neck is by using your back neckline. But I don't find it to be that accurate because this has been balanced, right? Your front distance right here, your neck distance, your width right here doesn't really change from front to back. So you can use this as a guideline. I find this to be more accurate. Okay. All right, so this point's gonna be O, and I'm gonna put my O, I don't know why, but I can't draw O to save my life. Like the O in my little text thing, my version of the instructions is pretty bad too. It looks like a loop or something. I don't know what's wrong with me. All right, so I'm just gonna leave it kind of up here because I might be moving this point a little bit here this way. All right, so you're gonna draw a line from point O to N. Now this is our shoulder line. Now I know that's probably longer or smaller than your measurement, so don't panic. I know that, so it's gonna be okay. Now if this line here from O to N doesn't equal, oh, I see a typo, measurement 5 plus a ½ inch, that's okay. You're gonna go straight out through N, all right? So mine is, let's see, my measurement 5, is it really 5 inches? Because that's so funny. I'm doubting it because it's the exact same as the number. Oops, here we go. Where is it? Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, all right, so mine is 5 3/8. So I'm gonna look at this. So here's my point N right here, remember? Now, where my point N now is gonna be a little further that way. Because I'm taking my measurement, 5, adding a ½ inch because we add a shoulder dart. You don't have to use the shoulder dart for your pattern. Don't worry about it. So this is my new N, and I'm going to circle it right here. This really messy, messy spot, which is embarrassing. Okay. Now, at this point, you can square down from O here to the D guideline right here. But I'm going to tell you, your neckline, you just really want this curve to be a nice, gentle curve, okay? Something like that, right? And this is your neckline right here. And now I want you to take your ruler or a measuring tape, and I want you to measure D to O. And there's no seam allowance, so you're going to measure directly on the line. And I want you to see if it is about the same as your measurement 16. So again, your new shoulder line includes a dart right here. So from O to N is your measurement number 5 plus a ½ inch. And we're going to come back to O, square down to the D line right here. And now you're going to draw on your neckline. If you have a French curve, that can be helpful, but I find like I'm pretty good at just eyeballing at this stage. You don't want it to be at a angle like this or like this from the center back. Because when you get to these, especially when you get to your center back right here, this should be nice and flat because you need it to be at a right angle. You absolutely have to have it at a right angle. And if you don't, it's gonna get trimmed off anyway, so you might as well do it now. Shouldn't be too hard to sketch this in right here. So measure D to O, and is it close to your measurement 16 for those of you following along? Mine's almost spot on. So just tell me if you have any big differences. If it's a 1/4 of an inch different, I feel like you could then, if like say it's a 1/4 inch smaller, I would probably measure your neckline, take your measurement 16, measure from D to the shoulder line here, and get it on that line. So if you have to move this out a little bit, your O, that's fine. Ooh, 5/8 of an inch smaller. Yours is 5/8 of an inch smaller. Your line is short. Ooh, that does seem kind of drastic, Malin. How does it look? And you put your front on here and put your shoulder point there. Yours is 5/8. What is it? What is the measurement? Your 16. What is your 16 measurement? Hi, Terry. I know a lot of back neck measurements. And also, what size are you generally, do you know, in US sizing, Mullen? Like this measurement right here for me is 3 1/8 inch. And that's actually not much different than it would be on me. And, you know, I'm 30 years older. Yours is a 1/2 inch shorter. Your AO is only 2 1/4. OD is 3. Okay. O to D is 3 1/2. Your AO. Okay, well, we're not measuring this right here, though. Your OD is 3 1/2. And you need it to be the... Oh, you're not going to compare these two. Don't compare these two. Compare D to O to your measurement 16. Am I shouting? I'm sorry. And yours measures a 1/2 inch shorter than your 16 as well. And what is the measurement? Yours is 2 1/4, which sounds kind of small. But that's, so 3 1/2 sounds pretty good to me. 2 1/4 sounds a little small. What's yours measure, Christine? The delay is just such a bummer, isn't it? Your 16 is 3 1/2, Milan. And your OD is 16 is 3 1/2. That's perfect. That's perfect, Milan. Yeah, you're not comparing AO. You're comparing measurement 16 to OD. How about you, Christine? Your measurement number 16 is 4 inches. Really? And you get 3 1/2 on the pattern? Okay, I would stick with the 3 1/2. And because you wrote a comma, you're probably Europe as well? All right, so the other way you can draft this is put A to O as your measurement 16 and then sketch in your neckline here. But Malin, yours is perfect. Don't do that. No, you mistyped. Okay. That's what I figured with your name. All right, I would stick with that, Christine. The worst case scenario is that did you draft your front already? Or is your back your first one? If anyone's watching this uploaded, like you're in the future and you're watching this as a recording and you're wondering like what the chat's saying, I'm pretty sure on a phone you will see a spot that says hide chat or show chat, and then you can see what's happening. Oh, this is your first one, Christine? Okay. All right, so then just leave it for now. And then I think you're going to be okay, because the worst case scenario is this point's a little far this way, or you have a little extra right here, which we can pinch out later on, okay? I would hate for it to be like when Malin said 2 1/4, that made me a little like, no, that's just too small back here. So you can hide and show chat, especially if you don't want to see chat. Sometimes I don't like seeing chat because I get distracted by it and I don't watch the video. You can hide it. Yeah, it'll come out in the muslin. Malin, yours sounds great. That's exactly what you want. All right, cool. All right, so let's move forward. Okay. We are, if you have the print version of this, we are on part 3 and we're on number 4. We're going to do our shoulder dart. All right, so mark the middle of O to N. Remember, if your end point moved from here out, you need to measure from O to your new N, okay? Which is, for me, it was that measurement, I think, 5 plus the 1/2 inch, right? So you shouldn't even have to measure it. You already know. All right, so Mine's about right here, okay? And you're gonna label this as point R. So it's the midpoint between O and N. It's my new N over here. All right. So now you're going to put a, you're going to draw in your dart legs. Why did I check that off? And you need to find the center of your dart. So you're going to go from R to M. And this is kind of a tentative line. It's not going to be permanent on your pattern. So if you want to do it in pencil or something else, I'm just going to do it in a dashed line like this. So R to M, the top of your waist dart, not L, all right? And now you're going to draw in your dart. I feel like I'm missing something here. Where's the middle of O to N? Labels are draw to the line between R and M. Draw 3-inch. Yeah, so you're going to put a 3-inch line down your R right here. This is the end of your dart, and this is S. Oh, yeah, here we go. Okay, so now we're going to put in our dart legs here, and so this is a little bit crafty. So from R, you're going to go this way on your O to R line, 1/4 inch this way, and then up 1/8, all right? So I'll use a pencil. I'm going to go 1/4 inch from R to O, and then up 1/8 inch from this ON line, all right? And this is T, okay? And you're gonna do something similar for you, but you're gonna go this way 1/4 inch and then up 1/4 inch. I don't find this actually matches that great, but we're gonna true it up so it's all gonna come out in the wash. So 1/4 inch from R that way towards N, and then up 1/4 inch as well. And this is going to be U. Now these 2 points, T and U, are your dart legs. And so you're going to draw in your dart now from O to T to S. Okay. I'm going to use a different color now. It's getting a little messy. And I'm doing Sharpie. That front block came out darn accurate for drafting in Sharpie, I have to say. And you're going to do the same thing for these dart legs. So N to U to S. All right. N to U to S. All right. So there's my shoulder dart. Your shoulder dart's really useful because you'll eventually probably need it as a guide for a princess line, even if you're not using princess lines. And it also is an area if you're looking for a really fitted look. Like I always talk about, this whole area of your body is, if you can get the fit really well through there, it just makes a huge difference on your garments, right? And I feel like the shoulder dart's a little bit underrated. A lot of times they just literally drape it out. They just kind of like let it kind of go off the edge of the shoulder and they take it off. But there is reasons why it's there. I mean, if you look at the back here, there's so much here. You know, this is so flat and curved at the same time right here. Shaping it's really nice, you know. So having this little shoulder dart kind of helps that. All right, so now we have our shoulder dart and our shoulder area. We have our neck. We're almost done. All right, so if you're following along on the pages, we're on the last part, part 4, number 1. And you're going to draw a line from F to K. So now we're going to finish out this armhole and our side seam. Now this F to K it might change a little bit in a second. So you might want to use pencil for this. Yeah, right, Rachel? I know, they are just totally underrated. So F to K. And F was your new waistline. I know you can probably, you can actually see my pencil line pretty good. Maybe I could have used pencil. Maybe because I have it zoomed in. Okay, so now for your side seam, you need your measurement number 10 again. And you're going to draw, oh wait, I forgot, I skipped a step, sorry. Number 1, actually, you're going to draw a 1/2 inch line down from K. Yeah, F to K. Why do you do that? From K and mark as V. Yeah, so a 1/2 inch line, a 1/2 inch away from K, and this is V. That's going to be your underarm point, all right? All right, now you need your measurement number 10, and from V to F, you're going to use your measurement 10. Now, I'm pretty sure mine's going to go a little bit past it, and that's okay. That's why I say this little F spot is a little bit loosey-goosey. I'm not even sure why we even do E and F quite yet, but it is a guide to where you want your waist, and now is as good as time as any, all right? So from V to your F. Mine, this time it hits perfectly. The first time I did it didn't. Maybe it's because the first time I used 1.5 inches for my dart and it pushed it out a little bit. All right, so this is now my F, right? You can finish drawing your waistline now. We did from B to G. Now you can go from H to F. And I'll do the curve, but I'm telling you, we're going to true this, and none of this is going to stay like this. It might be subtle, but it's enough. Because once I fold the dart, and once I pin the front to the side seam, making a nice smooth transition for the entire waist is key. And so right now you could do things like, I could check my shoulder, right? Let's see. All right, my shoulder like came really short, and that's because I changed my front shoulder once I got it on the dress form, stuff like that. I can look at my side seam here. The side seam is a little shorter on the small. So this is gonna be interesting. Like, I drafted this as if I didn't update any of my measurements from the front, because I wanted it to be as like, sorry, someone's got a motorcycle out there, as like spontaneous and pure as possible for the process, especially because a lot of you probably haven't drafted your front yet. And so we're going to get to see the truing of the back to the front once we're done here. All right, I need to check these off here. We have our 1, we have our 2, and now we're going to finish our armhole out. So you're going to need, you're not going to need anything actually quite yet, but from D to J, you're going to find your midpoint. All right, so find the middle between D and J right here, and you're going to label this as W. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. Add 3/4 of an inch that way, right? Yeah. From D to J, and then mark it as W. Sorry. So 3/4 of an inch down from the middle is your W. Okay. Middle plus 3/4 of an inch towards J. Right. All right. So now you're going to need your measurement number 20 plus 3/8 of an inch for a little bit of ease. From W towards the C line here. And you're going to mark that as point X. I'm going to double check my measurement here. Yep, okay. Because I didn't put a check mark. I doubted it, just like I was saying. All right, so this is, for me, about 6 5/8. And now I'm going to make this line, well, I mean, yeah, I'm going to make it parallel. So that is my X. When I was first learning how to sew, a lot of these lines, maybe not this one, but especially on pants, a lot of these lines that were used in the drafting of it always appeared on patterns, and now they're gone. And they probably still exist on like patterns like the Big Four, but you never it's rare that you see them on indie patterns. Some of the better indie pattern companies have them, and they're really informative, especially like now when you start using your block. Like you can lay your block on a ready-to-wear pattern. That's the wrong term, huh? A store-bought or indie home sewing pattern. You can lay your block on there and kind of line up some of these landmarks to see where you need to adjust the fit. And by the way, you're always going to line it up with your center back and your shoulder as your 0, 0 point to those, okay? And so if you guys get ahead of me, that's what you do. I find like now all I see is lengthen and shorten lines. And sometimes the lengthen and shorten line on the front isn't in the same place as it is on the back. Like if you lengthen and shorten it on the front, the back one might be an inch different. And so that if you did something like you used it as a line for color blocking, it's in a different spot. So you got to watch out for that. All right, so now we're going to put in our armhole. I'm just like making you wait to do the very last step. You're like, hurry up, Jeremy. Okay, so take something like your French curve or draw it in if you like, or use an armhole from something that you have. And N to X to V is going to be your armhole. Oh, it looks so dinky. She is such a wee thing. Okay. Now I like, it's not that I like, it's very essential that you have like, you know, right angles here at your juncture of your side seam. And I already know that these are a little bit off to the front. All right, so how are you guys doing? We're done. We've only just begun. This is when I need to add a commercial. Support me. Okay, so how are you guys doing? We still need to true up our darts and things like that. I'm going to show you how to do that in a second, which I didn't actually do on the front yet, but I'm going to show you today because I haven't even been live an hour. An hour, you guys. An hour, and you had to put up with me chatting. Doesn't take long to do this. All right, so I'm gonna cut mine out. I'm gonna add some seam allowance to it right now, just so when I put it on the dress form, I have places to adjust. Like I have like some extra fabric there, and so I can pin it to the front. I'm just putting a 1/4 inch around my neck, 1/2 inch around all the other bits. I'm going to leave my dart unfinished right here and here. I'm going to cut it out. Hi, Eliza. How's it going? Awesome. I played volleyball in high school. I really loved it. It was fun. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do right now, since we have time, I'm going to do a little bit of the truing process. I'm going to cut this out and put it in the fabric and drape it on the form first. Now, I know you guys don't have a dress form, and so it makes it a little tricky, but when you go to fit yours, this is what I want you to do. I want you to cut your back on the fold on the center back line, all right? And add your seam allowance. And then I want you to cut 2 fronts with like a 1-inch extension past your center front line, all right? Then I want you to sew up your darts, your shoulder seams, and your side seams, but not the center front. And then you're gonna put it on. You're gonna also, before you put it on, turn back one of your center fronts along the center line and make sure you mark it. You add that 1 inch mark where the center line is. And then I want you to iron one. And you need to mark it on your both fronts so that you can line it up center to center. You don't want to be inaccurate about that. And also, just because you put your center back on the fold, mark the center neck and the center waist on there. Just clip in or make a pin mark, and I want you to get cheap fabric. And this is like the one thing. I rarely ask you guys to buy things, or I really don't. I mean, I don't really feel like you should have to buy a bunch of stuff to do what we're doing most of the time. But I do want you to buy yourself some muslin or some cheap fabric. If you're in the States, just use that 40% off coupon at Joann's. If you don't want to support a big box store, then find some fabric somewhere. You can use things like sheets and stuff like that. And I know muslin is not nice fabric, and it's not the fabric that will give you the most flattering look. But the thing is, if you can fit something in muslin, it's going to look so much better in regular fabric. It's almost like a secret gift, you know? But I just want you to take out of the equation the whole, maybe my muslin will end up being something I can keep and wear, right? I want you to get fabric you don't like, or fabric with stains on it. I don't care what it is. Try to pick something not too distracting. Don't pick something cute, okay? It's really easy to be like, well, if I've got this coupon, it's so affordable, I'm just gonna get something that I kind of like looking at. Don't do that, all right? Get something like muslin. Muslin can be like the 36-inch wide muslin is like $1 a yard. Buy a bolt, because I think a bolt has something like 15 yards on it. That is, $15 without the coupon. With the coupon, you're talking about $7 or $10 for 15 yards of fabric, all right? Exactly, Rachel. Yeah, thrift and charity sheets are great. Walmart, okay, great. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so you guys can do it. Just don't pick something there's any way you think you might like. I want you to feel very comfortable using a Sharpie on it. You don't need to pre-wash it. I know it's stiff, maybe if it's like brand new fabric. Just do that, all right? And also I want to see, which way is my little, oh, they're upside down. Okay, I just wanted to, no, those are upside down, but this would have been, I'm going to try and keep my dots the same. All right, so I'm going to cut this out. I really do barely ever tell you guys to buy anything, but this is one thing. If you want to up your game for your pattern drafting, you really need the sample fabric. I'm just going to extend my dart legs to this cut spot right here so that I can notch it. I do have a pattern notcher, but you don't need this. You can do just a nip in your fabric, or you can cut out a little triangle. My Sharpies are ruined. It's not red anymore. It happens. Oh, and I need my points. So if you have an awl, you can put a hole in the vanishing point of your dart. I actually own a screw punch just for this purpose. I know, decadent, right? If you ever get one of those screw punches, I finally found a place that sells replacement tips, and it's beyond measure. She's in the UK, and I love her. I really love her. She's got a great affinity for sewing stuff and high quality, fun sewing things. Okay. I also need my center. I should have notched that as well. Oh, I need my darts. I'm feeling like a noob right now. Let's see here. Come on. All right. So now I have we'll just draw in the dart legs so you can see them. Now these darts aren't going to be, especially your a front waist dart and this back waist dart. This is not probably where that point's going to stay. This is just for your block. Because if you tried on that front, the vanishing point of the dart is actually right on your apex. It's like the least flattering spot ever. But that's not where you're going to draft the patterns you use and wear. All right, so here's my center line right here. I'm going to leave some fabric here on my dart, because I'm going to true it with the fabric. I'll show you how to true it on paper as well. But then I can transfer the truing. And truing just means that you are refining the lines and junctures to be accurate and have a smooth transition or be balanced. So it's kind of, the word kind of speaks for itself. You're making it true, you know. So you fold your first dart leg that's closest to your center always away from the center, like this. I could sew it right now too, but I do find that when if you're expecting to do any fitting with your dart, it's kind of nice to have the flexibility to let it out. So that is an option for some of you if you don't want to sew up the darts. Maybe what you do is you sew up the darts on the left half of your body and you leave the right half ones you pin so that you can kind of compare, all right? So now I have my dart folded and I'm just going to cut across that waist right there. And then it'll give me the shape I need. So you can see the point dropped down a little bit below the cut line or the waistline that we originally drew. All right, so I'm actually going to pin along this fold. That's not how I would if I were sewing it. I just want it to sit as flat as possible when it's on the dress form. All right, same thing here. All right, and you just want to try and get that to vanish at your point. It's awkward. It's a really tiny dart. And I can see like this dart leg right here on the one closest to the neck is sticking up a little bit past my shoulder line. So it definitely needs some truing. Let's take off the front and we'll pin it to the back. And we'll see. I didn't change anything on this front, I'm pretty sure. So I'm going to line it up. Actually, I'm going to look at this first before I do that. Let's put the full screen on. Hello. Okay. This is my front, this is my back. I'm just going to take a gander. When you go to, if you're using a dress form, it's good to start from the waist. I should have drawn on, you know, this one's so nice because I have the seam allowance drawn on here. So I'm going to draw my seam allowance on here. When you do yours sewn one and you cut it out, you could leave off the seam allowance from the waist, but you might find it helpful if you need to like lower your waistline a little bit. So you can see this isn't trued perfectly because I can tell, like just look at it when it's lined up on this ruler right here. See how it's dipping towards the body? So it definitely needs some truing. I'm just drawing in my seam allowance so I can see exactly where it hits on the dress form. This is how I did yesterday. I don't know why I did it differently today. All right, so I'm just going to take a gander at this before I pin it to the front and see how it looks. The funny thing is when you have one that looks like it fits pretty good, but then you hold it up to the other one and you're like, wait, why does it look bigger? That's exactly what I'm having with the side seam here. Because this side seam actually looks pretty good. It looks a little high. So what I'm thinking is if I line up my shoulder here, let's just do that. I think what I'm going to do is I'll have to lower this armhole point right here. Do you need the drafting cam, Lynn? I'll have it back in a second, a few minutes. This way I know now I'm going to line up my front to the bottom of the waist and then trim off this armhole to match. That's what I was kind of getting a gauge for, since I kind of took a gander at my back to my front to see what adjustments we need. So I'm going to line up my front to my back, starting at the waist and go up. It's almost faster to sew it. Am I right? You're going to leave everything raw. You're not going to finish anything. This is 4 seams to sew and a few darts. You got this. It's like 5 minutes of sewing. Doesn't have to look pretty for your fitting. And you're going to sew a few of these, you guys. So suck it up, buttercups. All right, so I'm pretty sure my neckline juncture here was okay. I'm going to go from the neck out because it looked like I trimmed off of the shoulder armhole area. Okay, so now I have my little bodice here ready to try on to the dress form. And so if this were going on me, I'd have a full one, like a little vest, you know? All right, so I always start with the waist because you don't know where this neckline hits on here, on you. It's always good. I know I always say like leave, when you're drafting, leave the center line and your shoulder neck area as your 0-0 point for drafting everything. But when you're putting it on the form, the waist is very definite. You wouldn't sit there and go, yeah, I'll go up or down here, right? Your waist is definite. And the neck is one area though, like we actually did back it off away from the throat area a little bit in the drafting process. So we know that this is a given down here. You got to go with what you know. All right, I'm gonna fold this under so you can see my center line, even though my center line is super wiggly from when we measured. Because it was really awkward to draw on my dress form. I didn't think it would be that awkward. See, if I had the full sewn one, this wouldn't be so hard to line up, right? The padding on this is like, it's just not very good anymore. Okay, so you might find that you'll need to clip into your, where'd my scissors go? Okay, there. You might need to clip into your armhole to like release any tension, especially at the neckline. So just clip to your seam line, up to the seam line to release it. so that it lays nice, okay? I don't know why, but I didn't draw in my neckline right there. I really don't actually want to pin it on the back because I want to see if it sits there by itself. It's kind of a test, right? Here's my seam line right here, so it is kind of pulling that way. Do you want me to zoom in at all? What, oh, this one. Let's zoom in a little bit. Let's do this. All right, it's a little overexposed though, huh? You're like, my eyeballs. How's that? That good? Okay, let me move my mat. I wear a lot of wooden clogs, so I have to stand on nice soft mats. All right, so this is looking like, this is actually looking pretty good. It's sitting away from the body right here, because remember we added a little bit of ease to the body, to this area here for breathing, as someone put it appropriately and accurately. I'm having a little bit of pulling right here, so let's see, what is that? Where is that happening? My centered line on the front is, oh, that is, wait, where is it? I'm going to take this off because I can't actually see it. Sorry, I know that makes it visible for you guys, but I think I wasn't putting it in the right spot there. Yeah, there it is. There, that's better. That's it. Okay. All right, so here's our front, and this was the apex of the bust, and so that is where my dart is vanishing. Your patterns won't do that. They can go around. So now I'm going to blend this line here, especially this whole armhole area right here, and I'll just mark it on there. Other than that, this looks pretty darn good, honestly. So let's draw in our armhole. It's quite a bit different. And this is going to be, actually what I accidentally did was I switched, here's my seam line right here. And I just started drawing from there, and then I ended up drawing to the seam allowance line. So let's blend that in better. So I know my red line is my actual armhole line. I need to add seam allowance to there. So I don't really like that curve right there though. That's okay. I can actually true that better on the table. All right, so on the front, remember we had this like gape like this. So if you have something like that happening, look back at that video to see how I handled that. Because you're going to use a technique like slashing and spreading. Yeah, you're gonna have to do your best, Lisa. You're lifting up your arm. And, you know, really it's not, you kind of want to lift your, like, make sure you're relaxing your shoulders down and then lift your arm up and do your best. You're going to have help or trial and error. So what I recommend when you start doing some of these more intricate fitting areas, especially these really tricky ones, make sure, write notes to yourself. What was your most recent revision? And if you end up sewing a lot of these little things, label them. Oh, I don't have the camera above. But so this was my first one that I cut and sewed. It's so weird seeing the camera backwards. So I labeled this first draft. It's so funny. I know it's probably like you don't understand why the camera's weird because it's not like looking in a mirror. So I'm always doing the opposite. So I can't stress this enough because I'm telling you, you might be like, I am on my game. I know what's going on. I'm keeping up here. And then the phone rings, or the dog brings in a dead mouse, or you spill your glass of water, right? And then you get sidetracked because you see that sink full of dishes, or the neighbor stops by, or you just can't tell one marking from another. So be nice to yourself and take really good notes. And this is what I did in college when I was first learning how to be a pattern drafter. I was that goofy kid that had all the colors of pins. And this is what I would do. I would start with one color, and then I'd be like, all right, this is getting a little messy. I'd switch to another color, and I kept track. Like I'd actually like put a little star, like, okay, this is my first color. I would just put it in the margin. And then when I switched to a color, I put the next color down, and I would know that's the most recent color, okay? And then I would sometimes have that one ink color I only used if I decided to backtrack. So if I saw that ink color, that's the one I went by. Whatever it takes for you to keep track and to like keep like yourself kind of focused and centered on how your which measurement you're following and which line. Whatever makes sense to you, do that, okay? Write on here, write stories to yourself, you know, whatever it takes. All right, so let's take this onto the table, and then we're gonna true it up a little bit. This is still a little bit of a concern right here, but I can't tell if it's the pin, the fabric, or what. Because it looks fine when I just let it go. Oh, this is part of my problem. I got to pin away so when I pull on it, it's fine. All right. This looks pretty good though. Okay, so let's true this up now on the table so that you can have something to try on. And I really hate seeing myself on this camera. But that's not what I look like. It was so funny. My daughter and her friend came by the other day, probably to pick up something, and I was setting up the cameras for the stream for the next day, and they saw themselves in the camera, and she was like, "Are you streaming?" I was like, "No, no, no, no." And then they were having so much fun, like playing with the camera, you know. And then they were just like, "Oh, I don't want to see myself on there." And I'm like, "It's not recording or anything." And it's funny because people say that to me all the time, like, I could never do that. I thought that too, you guys. I really did. I really thought I could never be on a camera, but I just want to help people so much. Yeah, right, Terry? I know, Terry. It's hard. I mean, especially because it's not really, I'm going to say this, it's really not helping that I'm using a size 5 dress form. And I'm sorry about that. I really wish I was using a more realistic body. At least a body that's our age. You know? I mean, she's actually only 6 years younger than me. She's from 1978. Or she's 7 years younger than me. But that's not usually, you know, unless you're petite. Like, this is perfect for a petite gal. But she's not petite. She's actually not fully formed or developed yet. You know, she's not even done growing. Okay, so I've got my markings on here. I'm going to take off my front. I like to, I don't know if you noticed this, but I like to pin the front over the back. See how this, I folded the back or the front seam allowance and pinned it on top like that. I think visually it looks nicer, which helps you look at it more, just more objectively. Yeah, she hasn't had any kids yet, Lisa. Yeah, right? I think so. Yeah, so remember that this is my actual line, right? And so let's look at this in relation to my piece of paper here, right? Let's take out our darts here. I'm going to trace this to paper and show you how to true the dart if you don't get to do the way I did it, all right? So I have a tracing wheel. If you don't have one of these, you can use a pin or a needle or a safety pin and transfer your dots like that, okay? And now I've lost track because I didn't change ink color. So it's my lower one, right? Plus my, yeah, okay. Eliza. Yeah, I mean, but you know what? I feel like it's more about teaching us to accept ourselves right now how we are and that we could change is so much more helpful. Because this is what I said at the beginning of one of the drafting streams, and I cannot stress this enough because I feel like you come up against this when you are fitting jeans. Because doing jean sewing it hits all the triggers for a lot of folks as far as fitting goes, right? So this is the thing. There are two ways to look at the fit. How you want to look, how you wish you looked when you looked at yourself in the mirror, and how it actually fits. Because I think once you start kind of making those the same thing, you mentally can, once you start accepting like, this is who I am. And when I have clothes that fit me, I'm going to be happier and you feel great, right? Hi, PJ, how's it going? So, you know, it's like, I feel like I like a good example, you guys, I'm just going to say it, like those saffron jeans that by Deer and Joe that Hearts is sending me, I'm kind of nervous about making those because I'm like, I've seen the way that looks on the model. I don't know if I could wear those, but you know what? I don't have to, right? I told them, I was like, as long as I don't have to wear those just in case because they're not really my style. But at the same time, maybe I can make them fit someone that's shaped like me, right? I wouldn't pick that design for my body. And I think that that's okay. I don't feel like all designs should have to work for all body types. And so it's like picking the designs that work for you, making clothes that fit you really well, and accepting like, oh, does this fit well and I just don't like the way it like this on me? Or am I like, does this fit well and I'm just being critical because I don't like my present weight? Like I have this struggle with myself every morning in front of the mirror, you guys. So, you know? So it's just, you know, be nice to your guys selves, okay? Okay, so I'm going to transfer my lines here. Now I could just use the front to make these changes. And I am actually going to refer to the front because the front I know is good, right? So I have my little dots now. And that is the seam line. So it needs the seam allowance. I'm maintaining my right angle here at the center, or the side seam armhole juncture. And yeah, you're right, Beverly. I am taking off quite a bit. But remember, we didn't drape this. We drafted it with flat measurements. And that is always kind of, you're doing geometry to figure it out. And there's probably far more precise geometry to figure out your basic block perfectly the first time than what we did. And like someone was saying, they took a class and there was like, you went through the alphabet twice and we only went through the alphabet barely even once, right? So, right, Lisa? That's exactly how I feel about the dress form thing. Awesome, Eliza. I'm glad. I mean, I just feel like these are the things I have to tell myself, right? And I always really think like, what would I tell my friend? You know, what would I tell my friend? Why don't I tell that to myself? You know, why aren't I nicer to myself? I mean, and I feel like for people that have a spouse, it's also wrapped up in, oh, this isn't what I looked like when my spouse met me and fell in love with me, and now I don't look like that anymore. But do I look at my spouse and expect him to be the way he was when I met him? No, I kind of actually am like, I love the fact that he's all mine. Like, all of that is mine, you know, like not in a possessive way, but in a like, he's mine and I like it. I kind of love that, you know? So I hope that he thinks that way about me, you know? So I just try and treat myself the way I would treat other people, right? So it's just, yeah. Anyway. Okay, so let's keep going here. This one has the dart on it, and I'm still going to true that up. Let's actually true up our dart right now, because it's more accurate if we true up the dart and then do these things. So, yeah, exactly, Milan. All right, so I'm going to do this on regular paper, which is probably what you're using already, which is great. Because the paper you can fold. I like manila because I feel like it's a little easier on the eye for the camera when I'm drafting for you guys, but I literally only do it on manila, even if it's a little bit overkill, and it's because of this exact reason right now. See how I can actually trace around it? I like that. All right, so I have my untrued armhole here. All I'm doing right now is I'm going to show you how to true the darts. I need a center notch right here. This screw punch hole that I have right now it's a little big for a dart. You don't have to do this. This little plus sign is just habit from working at places. The reason you do it is because, say your block or your pattern ends up getting traced over and over and over. Well, the ink can wear out these little bits, like where your notches are and your hole is. Or maybe you get a tear there. So when you have this like this, if this dot, this little hole gets big or it tears, you have this juncture to find where the center was. That's the only reason I do that. You don't have to do that. I'm just explaining it. Okay, so I'm going to draw on my dart again. We're going to true up the waistline and the shoulder line for the dart. And let's see, I think my front doesn't have seam allowance on it, and my back does right now, which is kind of an issue, but we're going to work around it. So first off, I'm going to fold my dart and close it up. Sew it shut, in other words. I try to just fold where the line is. It just makes it a little more behaved when I do this part. And now meet your dart over there. Try and start from the top and go down, just in case your dart legs happen to be different lengths. Try and get this as flat as possible. If you have to tape it, go for it. Whatever makes it more accurate. And now I'm going to lay my front on here. I'm going to draw in my seam allowance, which I should have done. Draw in my seam allowance. Okay. I'm going to match it up on the back. Now, if this had 1/2 inch seam allowance, I would line up the seam line on top of the seam line, but this side doesn't. So I just have to match it up to here. Let's get this point more accurate. All right, so one thing that I don't really like is when I have a point right here, like these junctures here come to a point, you know what I mean? So we really kind of want to smooth out this waist transition at the same time that we're going to true this dart. So you see, like this is the point right here. So we could actually kind of drop it down a little bit, add to the front and the back a little bit right there. And then same with the dart. So you can use your hip curve if you have one to kind of get this all right. I really like that I already have a I'm gonna move this a little bit. Let's make this. These weights are getting in my way here, but I need them. It's a little more on the camera. All right, so let's put this back on here. So we're just kind of trying to make a nice smooth transition. Don't mess around with this. You have to have a right angle here, okay? So I'm just gonna kind of smooth it out, kind of about right here that way. And this would be a great chance to start using a different ink color, you know? My front is no longer lined up there, but my line where I traced is, so that's fine. All right, and so if you have one of these, you can use your tracing wheel to transfer this line through your dart, but you can also just cut it, okay? I'll use a rotary knife since I've got this all kind of tethered to the table right now. I'm gonna cut off the seam allowance too this time. All right, so now we have our waist. Now let's get our armhole a little better. Let's make it a little darker. Sometimes I grab it and it doesn't move. That better? Okay. Well, is that too dark? That's not too dark, right? All my stuff's starting to move this way. The table is really tiny for you guys, but it's really big and it's got lots of stuff on it. Okay, so we have our front here, and I'm gonna line it up to where the front actually is in relation to the back right now, right? Because I haven't added this little bit to smooth the waist transition quite yet to this piece, but we can use this for our armhole, okay? All right, so that's our front armhole. And let's make it less confusing, I'm gonna erase my seam allowance line here on the back. And now I'm going to true up my shoulder so that I can true up the rest of my armhole right here. So let's fold this shoulder dart now. Actually, let's get rid of this right now so it's not bugging us. I didn't use a removable tape. So now we can see it's not much. It's pretty subtle. But you guys have probably sewn a garment with a much more significant dart shape right there, especially a bust dart on the front. And so you know how important that little bit of shaping can be, because if you don't get the dart shaped, sometimes you won't catch the middle of your dart in the seam when it goes to be sewn in. I'll show you that on the front when we go to true up the front, because the front doesn't have a dart yet. See, I mean, it has one, but I mean, it's like we slashed and spread and it needs to be trued up. So, all right, so now we're gonna true up our shoulder dart. So again, I'm gonna fold it on that first dart leg, the one closest to your center. You always fold away from the center for your darts. This one's really tricky. I used to hate this one in college. Okay. I'll use a removable tape this time. My hands are so dirty right now. Look at that. All right, so first we're going to straighten out our shoulder line. You see that? It's not straight right now. Even though, remember, like when we did this dart leg, we went 1/4 and 1/4, and on this side we went 1/4 and 1/8. It still wasn't enough to get that dart shape. It's pretty funny, huh? All right, so let's straighten that out right there. And let's take off the seam allowance. I'm going to take off the seam allowance here. I'm going to take my block down to no seam allowance. Once you have your finished block, you can keep seam allowance on there if you like, but you don't have to. All right, so let's cut this off. Again, I also don't usually use a rotary knife to draft patterns. I usually always use pattern scissors, which you've seen me cut with today. Hi, Nancy. Yay! Good job. That's awesome. You started your measuring. We're just truing up our bodice now. So look at that dart point is a lot more significant. See that? This little shape also will tell you, like, when have you ever been at your sewing machine and you sew the dart and then maybe you skip that, you know, ironing step? Who does that? And then when you go to sew your shoulder seam, I mean, granted, probably none of you have ever sewn a garment. Maybe Rachel has with a shoulder dart. Maybe Terry has too. But say it's a waist dart and you're kind of, you know, going fast. You skip the ironing step. And you're like, oh, which way does the dart go? This little point, like if you were to try and line it up going the other way, look at how far out it would stick above the seam. That's your first indication, like, oh, it goes this way. You know, so if it were over here, it would stick up above. You're measuring, yes, Nancy. Yeah, right, Nancy? I know. I'm glad you have a dress form. That's pretty cool. I'm kind of been looking at that bootstrap dress form again. Malin, right? Yeah, Beverly, I feel like you guys got enough smarts that you'll be able to be kind to yourself and figure out where to kind of adjust. And just remember, like, when we're doing this first draft, it's a first draft. It's a rough draft. Right? You wouldn't publish a book from the first draft, so you're not going to publish your pattern from the first draft, right? You're not going to start drafting patterns from it. All right, so let's true up this armhole now. So, let's tape this back together, actually. Sorry, it was a little premature. This is the only thing about having a shoulder dart. It is a little bit of a pain when you want to use it for things. All right, so now my front doesn't have seam allowance. My back doesn't have seam allowance. So you can kind of look at it like this, right? And I'm going to show you both ways. So laying it on here like this is great because I kind of want to make sure that this whole transition right here is nice and smooth. Okay, same with your neck. Is my neck nice and smooth? That's actually pretty good. I'm kind of surprised. And you can also just check to make sure you got the right measurement. There's no seam allowance, so I'm going to go point to point like this. My pencil is too dull right now. Okay. So now I have my front right here and my shoulder here. So let's use our French curve. Oof. This French curve is a little small for this, so we're going to have to kind of drag it around. So what I usually do is I do the tail of the French curve up here, and then I flip it and put the tail this way. You kind of want to get it as smooth as possible. See that? That's awesome, Deborah. That's nice. He'll do that for you. Yes, right, Nancy? Yeah, exactly, Rachel. Yeah, I mean, the shoulder darts are really handy. I know, I've been kind of looking at dress forms, and then something came along my way with the bootstrap. Oh, Chelsea, I don't know if she's still here, but she has one, and so does Nancy. And I've been like, maybe that would be a fun project. That's awesome, Deborah. Why do I think the back arm was different? You know, I feel like it's a few reasons, Eliza. Partly it's because it's a little tricky. Can you see? Come here, you. Can you see, like, this plate you're supposed to ignore, right? But can you see right here, my ridge? See, like, that is far in here. And then it's just kind of like a gray area where your armhole is, because you don't go by this plate. You kind of go by the ridge on the body. And also, when we fit it, we could kind of see. You also add a little bit of ease, so. Okay, so let's look at this. This looks pretty good. I have been taking off my seam allowance, and I haven't been really doing a good job of keeping track of where I've gotten it off, so good thing it's not hard to at this point. Let's just look at it on here. I'm just gonna hold it up. Okay, just making sure that the, you probably can't see it, huh? Just checking it out. Making sure I'm on the right track. All right, so let's take that off. Okay, so we have our back with no seam allowance. Let's do our front now. And I'm going to transfer this to manila for my own personal use and demonstration purposes. But I don't have to do that today. All right, so I just need a piece of paper for the front. Oops, sorry, just whack the microphone. Okay. The reason I like dealing also with no seam allowance is because you get a truer idea of where things are. And when you're making adjustments, you don't have to do any quick math to like include or subtract your seam allowance. You can always add it later. All right, so let's see here. We have our center front line. We have our dart. Oh, did I not mark? I didn't mark. Okay, so when we adjusted the armhole on this, I changed the width of my dart by this much. By like 3/4 of an inch at least. And that's why we slashed in the armhole right where the fullness was happening and closed it up that amount. That's why I have this weird little slash in there. All right, so really what I need to do is just make sure the things I did to my back match, oops, match my front. So right here, sorry, I need to zoom out. Now that I'm not like taped to the table, that was kind of keeping me tame. I just want you to be able to see my lines still. All right, so I've kind of added this little shape right here to make the transition nice and smooth. And now I need to add my waist dart. That's quite a big dart. So some classic bodice drafts, basic bodice blocks and drafts have a shoulder dart. And it helps you establish the princess line. So you can do that if you want. You can pivot a little of this into the side seam or the shoulder. But mostly we're used to it being in the waist. Did I add extra to the front waist to give myself the... Are you talking about this right here? Which is barely noticeable on the camera. I did, but mostly not to give myself a right angle, Eliza, but to smooth this transition from front to back. Because otherwise it was a point. It went like this. And so all I did was I went like this. I'm exaggerating that. That's awesome, Rachel. Yeah. All right, so here we have our dart. Why does it look weird to me? Okay. Why does that all of a sudden feel like darts don't go towards the center? They do, right, you guys? Am I just like having a total brain fade? She's so small, it's like looks wrong to me. You always go that way. Right? Why am I, don't you hate it when you doubt yourself? All right, so I'm gonna smooth this transition here, and I'm also going to be putting the dart shape in there. So I already have this line here, I wanna respect it. And then I also wanna respect the fact that I have a center front right angle right here. So I'm gonna go like this. Might try this actually a little better. Yeah, that's a little better. Like that. Sometimes when I'm using the same ink color, I'll do this. I'll draw little arrows pointing to the line that I want. I knew a pattern drafter that would put little circles on the line, like she would do, like, oh, this is the line I want. So she would circle it and then follow it, like when you have a few. Whatever, like I say, whatever makes sense to you is the way to go. All right, so we're gonna trim this off. Take out our removable tape here. And then we have our nice big juicy dart. Am I right or what? I always leave like a line, a little piece of paper, and I always make it obviously crooked so I don't accidentally use it as the center line, you know? Oh boy, I haven't cut with scissors like this in a while. Oh boy. Prepare to watch me struggle. Oh boy. Where's my pattern scissors? I just have to use these. This is what I'm used to. I know they look harder to use, but they're not. Because of the short blades and the long handles, you have a lot of maneuverability. And in general, you move the pattern, not the scissors. Stop it. There we go. But this little thin paper is not easy. Okay. So we now have our front and back block. These are our trued up ones. Okay. I like to label all of my patterns. I'm gonna mark my centers, all my dart legs. She's a size 5, that's what the 5 is. We don't have our notches yet on our armhole, but we'll get there. You can put it on there. It's usually, there's no mystery to it. 3 inches up for the front. Three inches and 3 and 3.5 on the back. And boy, is it ever a pet peeve for me when I see pattern companies make this like 1/4 of an inch. I don't know why. I don't have a whole lot of pet peeves, but that is one of them. It's just really annoying. So that's all it is. It's 3, 3, and 3.5. There's no magic number to it. It's the same on the sleeve. How you guys feel? Oh, I'm so zoomed in on there. I didn't know that. Sorry, guys. You guys can tell me when my camera's all weird. Where's the face? All right. What do you guys think? Oh man, I got a mess on the table. So we have our front and our back. And so this is what I want you to do. You don't have to do these little truing spots as far as like these seam junctures quite yet if you don't want to bog yourself down with that. It has to happen, and it'll happen kind of naturally if you don't do it, because you'll get sick of seeing the wrong like points and things like this on your, you don't really want to see a side seam like this on your dress form, right? Or on your body. Yay, Malin. And by December, like mid-December, so the first week of December, we are going to sew gifts. And then the second week of December, I think, is when we're going to address our blocks again. Maybe it's the week after that. I can't remember. I'll have to look. We're sewing the Cascade Duffel Coat by Grainline Studio in December. I don't think I'll get the saffron jeans done then, but if not, it'll be January. You'll also probably start seeing me sew my project bag, because I'm going to need some more samples, because that pattern's coming out a couple months, 3 months maybe. So anyway, I want you to draft your front and your back, and then I really, 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 really want you to cut 2 fronts with a 1-inch extension, add your seam allowance, and then a back on the fold, add your seam allowance. I want you to sew your darts, your side seams, your shoulder seams, maybe leave your darts like on one half of your body, like the right front and the right back unsewn, just pinned, and the other one sewn. And then I want you to try it on. I want you to overlap your centers, lining up your center front. Draw on your fabric. You're going to get your fabric, right? And then I want you to try this on over your usual undergarments, not anything else. This is you in the mirror. And start looking at it. Get your Sharpie out. Don't draw on you. Just draw on your fabric. And start fitting in. Like, and if you start seeing things like gaping or gaping here, stuff like that, I'm going to show you ways to handle that. But basically what you're going to do is you're going to let the fabric relax. You're going to unpin it or unpick the stitches and see what it wants to do, and then repin it the way it wants to be. And then you're going to adjust your block on the table in relation to that. So focus on like a few simple things to deal with at first. Like, make sure you have your neckline in the right place and your armhole in the right place, your waistline. Make sure these darts are looking pretty good on you. The bust dart, the vanishing point is right on your apex, which is the fullest part of your bust, not your nipple, but the fullest part of your bust. And then you can focus on maybe some of the transitions, the junctures looking really good. And then I want you to look at the trickier things, like any gaping. If, say your waist is a little tight and you can just let out your dart a little bit, do that. Just remember, you want to maintain the distance between your center back and your first leg of your dart. Maintain that and change everything from this way, unless your dart looks like you want to move it, okay? And it's the same with your front. Maintain the distance between your center front and your first dart leg, and then adjust everything from there, okay? Absolutely, Chelsea. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, there's so many great resources out there. So yeah, you can find all kinds of things. And I mean, if you want to, you can buy a block, but you're going to be fitting it, I promise. And most blocks aren't custom. There are some that probably are, but you might have to pay a bit for them. So I just want you to do those things. Chelsea, you have a bootstrap dress form, right? How do you like it? Yours looks really great. Nancy's made one as well. I've been thinking about it. I just feel like having my custom dress form doesn't help you guys. Yeah, you like it? That's cool. Yeah, so I noticed that you buy the pattern, you upload your measurements, and then you buy a pattern. And then you're basically making a block, right? Like, could you have used your bootstrap dress form pattern as your block? I mean, right? Kind of, except for the fact that it's got a fully formed bust. The shoulder slope is wrong, so it's like going too far down or too far up. That kind of, this shoulder slope like this, right? You could pat it if it's too low. It's got princess seams and negative ease though. Oh, okay. Princess seams are helpful though. Yeah, so just remember, you guys, the places that you are, for me, I want you to focus on this area right here and this area right here first. If those work, then adjust this, okay? Get this zero, this is my 0, 0 area, the neckline and the centers. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I kind of figured. I kind of figured that. Yeah, I think Nancy made 2. The stuffing, yeah. Yeah, I saw Chelsea mention that same thing on Instagram. She said the stuffing was kind of it's a task. I don't even like stuffing the pin cushions. I feel like the stuffing it's such a negotiable act when it shouldn't be. You know, like you're like, well, I could do it this way, but am I really that lumpy? Well, I kind of am that lumpy, but do I really want to look that lumpy? You know? Yeah. All right, so how are you guys feeling? You feeling ready for this? So you're going to get some muslin or some fabric you don't mind marking up. And I really believe in you guys. I really believe in you guys. And so then you can take this and go, oh, I got this pattern. I don't have one handy, of course. And you can start laying your block, line up your center front and your shoulder right here to the block, to the pattern that you're about to sew, and go, what do I see that I might want to adjust right out the gate? Or you can, I'm not totally advocating for this, but the thing is, this could go into a whole discussion on like copyright stuff. But it is a thing in the garment industry. Like, you can take a design you see, use your pattern and draft it. No problem. That is all what it's about, right? Even if it's a pattern you see, you're like, I like the collar from that and the neckline from that and the sleeve from that. You can draft it. Yeah, right, Nancy? Yeah. Well, and I mentioned that I think on Wednesday that I have seen people with the identical like landmark measurements like bust, waist, hip, weigh completely differently, but be the same height and look like totally different people. Or I've seen them have the same measurements and the same weight, but be different heights, and then they look drastically differently. Yeah. Yeah, we're different this way. We're asymmetrical. And so this is another thing, is like this is why I also want you have to fit this as a full muslin on your body. You cannot do half. You have to do the full thing, a whole front and a whole back, because of the fact that you are probably asymmetrical and you are going to move around in it and breathe. So you really want to give yourself that, accuracy. Set yourself up. She looking cute though, right? So So I'm going to try and do mine by December as well. I started this whole thing because I just really want a blouse that I know the pattern, and my block is a little outdated, and I added a lift to the sleeve, which I'll show you guys how to do. I know a lot of you are really intrigued by the sleeves, though, that your whole garment doesn't move when you lift up your arm. It's really easy to do. I've even explained to people how to do it on Instagram. Hopefully it worked out. But I would like a basic block that reflects who I am, because I've changed a lot even in the last year. So no one's taken away my ice cream. All right, you guys. Well, I feel like I gave you lots to think about. If you want the text version and the steps on how to do this, you just need to be a Patreon subscriber, and I would really appreciate it. I put a lot of effort into this, and I am there for you. I got your back, and we're going to work on this together and get this. Awesome, Chelsea. Yeah, and that's linked in the description, pretty sure, of this video. And anything I post on there, you have access to from the beginning, which I haven't posted really anything yet, but I'm going to start doing that pretty regularly. I'm going to try and shift my focus that way. And like soon as like this Patreon subscriber thank you day, I think it's on the 19th. I might try and post a video on there, but you guys, I'm kind of busy. It's my daughter's birthday on Monday, and she's got a dance tonight, and yeah, Thanksgiving. I've got a lot going on, and this like secret project I'm working on. Eek! But I still got you. I'm thankful for you guys every day. So it's one way I can give back to you. I'm gonna try to do that. So let's see, what else? I got some really fun fabrics, but I think I can wait to show you those. They're funny. For some pie pin cushions. Yeah, that's it. Have a great weekend. Good luck drafting your bodice, and make sure you do your homework. In December, we'll have a December schedule soon. We will be addressing our blocks and how they fit and how they function. If you have any questions that I can answer by email, go for it. But I'd rather it benefit everybody. But definitely if you're a patron, send me an email. Yeah, you're welcome. Good luck sewing yours tomorrow, Malin. I know it's probably late there for you, getting late at night. So let's see. My back just fell in the recycling bin over there. So, all right, you guys, have a great weekend. I'll see you guys soon. Thanks, Nancy. That's nice of you. But I actually really want to do that, you know. I really feel like it's a really great resource, and I really appreciate it. So I eventually even see myself spending like time with you guys specifically on there, like patron only content eventually, because I can actually live stream on there and do videos. Crazy, right? I'm just not there yet figuring that out. So you're welcome, Deborah. Yeah, so I really appreciate it. Yeah, you're welcome, Brown Sugar. Thanks, Chelsea. I really appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. I'm so excited about this too. So it's past 10 p.m. Malin. Come on, you got this. Yeah, you're welcome, Rachel. All right, I will see you guys Wednesday, and we're going to be sewing. We're going to be cutting out a couple of kids' items and the Caroline pajama top. So we're going to be sewing all those next week. So we will be sewing, and then the following week is a break week. I'm going to be working, but we're not going to be streaming. So, all right, you guys. I'll see you guys soon. Have a great weekend. Happy sewing. Happy drafting. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.